The key turned in the lock with a familiar click. But as Lauren Carter stepped into her Chicago apartment, a chill ran through her. She'd only meant to grab her forgotten USB drive, a quick in and out before her big presentation. 5 minutes, tops. But the silence inside was suffocating. Unnatural. Then, from the bedroom, a voice. Her husband, Ethan's, low and warm, followed by another, a woman's voice, soft, intimate, and far too close for comfort. Lauren froze, her pulse hammering. In that moment, the life she thought she knew began to unravel. That morning had started like any other in their cozy Lakeview apartment. Sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, catching dust motes in a lazy dance. Lauren, 32, was a whirlwind of energy, stirring her coffee with one hand while rummaging through her work bag with the other. Today was her shot at a promotion to PR director at her firm. A dream she'd chased for years. Ethan, she called, slipping into her navy blazer. Have you seen my USB? The black one? Ethan, 34, appeared in the doorway, his easy charm disarming as always. Tall, with a neatly trimmed beard. He was toweling off his damp hair from a shower. Check the side table by the couch, he said, crossing the room to kiss her cheek. Nervous? Who wouldn't be? Lauren replied, forcing a smile. If I don't nail this pitch, someone else gets the job. You'll kill it, Ethan said, sipping his coffee. Besides, once my deal with the Seattle clients closes, we're taking that Napa Valley trip you've been eyeing. Just you, me, and some wine. His grin was infectious, but Lauren felt a familiar twinge. Ethan had a knack for steering every conversation back to himself. Her promotion, her moment, somehow became a footnote to his plans. The phone rang, cutting through her thoughts. Lauren glanced at the screen. Dorothy Miller, Ethan's mother's neighbor. Odd. Dorothy never called her directly. Lauren. Dorothy's voice was gentle but urgent. I'm so sorry, but Susan, Ethan's mom, had a stroke. She's at Lakewood General. Stable but critical. Lauren handed the phone to Ethan, watching his face shift from confusion to alarm. After a brief exchange, he hung up, muttering about investors flying in that afternoon. I can't cancel. Lauren, this deal's make or break. His eyes pleaded, but there was something else. Guilt? Hesitation? I'll go, Lauren said quietly, her throat tight. Susan needs someone. She called her colleague to hand off the presentation, knowing it might cost her the promotion. Ethan pulled her into a hug, murmuring, "You're too good for me." But as she packed a suitcase and boarded the train to Lakewood, a gnawing unease settled in her chest. Lakewood was a sleepy town. All cracked sidewalks and mom-and-pop shops frozen in time. Susan's duplex smelled of lavender and old paperbacks. Every corner meticulously kept. Framed photos of Ethan lined the walls, no trace of Lauren. Despite their 4 years of marriage, Dorothy greeted her at the gate, her gray hair tucked under a knit cap. You must be Lauren, she said, her handshake warm but firm. Susan's at the hospital. I'll take you tomorrow. Rest tonight. The next morning, Lakewood General's sterile halls echoed with the hum of machines. Susan lay in a private room, frail and pale, tubes snaking from her arms. Her left side was still, but her eyes lit up when she saw Lauren. You came, she whispered, her words slurred but heartfelt. Lauren squeezed her hand. Of course, Ethan's tied up with work. But I'm here. For 2 weeks. Lauren's life became a blur of hospital visits, rehab sessions, and errands. Susan's speech improved, but her body remained weak. Ethan called nightly, asking about his mother, never about Lauren. His updates were all about his Seattle deal, his voice brimming with self-congratulation. You holding up? Dorothy asked one evening as they folded laundry. Lauren shrugged, offering a weak smile. He's busy. Big project. Dorothy's eyes softened, a mix of pity and knowing. That boy's been spoiled since he was a kid. Susan gave him everything, never said no. The rest of us just watched. That night, alone in Susan's guest room, Lauren scrolled through her phone, seeking distraction. A friend's post from a trendy Chicago restaurant caught her eye. In the background, Ethan, her Ethan, laughed, leaning close to a young woman with auburn hair. Her hand rested on his arm. Her smile too familiar. Lauren's breath hitched. She zoomed in. His watch. His dimple. The cufflinks she'd given him for their anniversary. No mistake. Her stomach twisted. Not with jealousy, but with a sickening clarity. He wasn't in Lakewood because he didn't want to be. She took the early train back to Chicago, telling Dorothy she needed to grab some things. The apartment was pristine, too pristine. Fresh lilies sat on the coffee table. Pillows she didn't recognize adorned the couch. And 2 mugs sat in the sink. One smudged with pink lipstick. Lauren's calm was eerie, a quiet before the storm. She heard the shower running and sat at the kitchen table, waiting. Ethan emerged, hair damp, wearing sweatpants and a fitted tee. He froze when he saw her. "Lauren? I thought you were back this afternoon." "Took the early train," she said evenly. "Susan needed some things." She gestured to a bag on the counter. "Got medicine for your cold. Though you don't look sick." He forced a smile. Must have been a 24-hour thing. "Someone over?" she asked, nodding at the mugs. "Just a colleague," he said too quickly. "Megan from marketing. Dropped off some notes." Lauren stood, brushing past him to the bedroom. A bottle of unfamiliar perfume sat on the nightstand, next to a cheap gold hair clip. In the closet, a dress and blouses she'd never seen. Then, voices from the hall. Ethan's, low and tense. "I told you not to come today." "She's home." "I forgot something," a woman snapped. "How was I supposed to know she'd show up?" "You said she'd be gone for weeks." The woman, Claire, Lauren realized, hissed. "I'm tired of sneaking around." "Ethan, I'm pregnant." Lauren's world tilted. Her hands shook as she pressed herself against the wall. The words echoing. "I'm pregnant." Ethan's voice dropped. "Not now, Claire. I need time." Time. He'd been buying time while Lauren played nurse in Lakewood. She stepped back into the kitchen, sitting calmly, waiting for him to face her. Ethan returned alone, closing the door softly. "She's gone," he said, avoiding her eyes. "I know," Lauren replied. "I heard everything. The hallway's not soundproof." His face tightened. "I was going to tell you." "Don't." She cut him off. "Don't lie. You cheated. In our home. In our bed. And she's pregnant." "It's complicated," he stammered. "You were gone. I was under pressure. I was gone," she said, her voice steady, "to care for your dying mother. I gave up my career's biggest moment for you. And you were here playing house." The phone buzzed. Ethan glanced at it, paling. "It's the hospital. About Mom," he answered, his voice crack. The email came unexpectedly, a beacon in the fog of her new reality. Michael Bennett, Crescent Media Group. Lauren vaguely remembered him, a kind neighbor who'd helped with her suitcase the day she left Ethan. Back then, his quiet smile and steady presence had been a fleeting comfort. Now, his message was professional but warm. "Saw your resume online. We're hiring for a PR lead. Interested in an interview?" At first, Lauren hesitated, suspecting pity, but something in Michael's tone, direct, respectful, convinced her to show up. The interview was in a sleek downtown office. All glass walls and modern art. Michael, 38, greeted her with a handshake and a grin that put her at ease. "Your work at Horizon Media was impressive," he said, leaning back in his chair. "We're rebuilding trust in a brand that's taken some hits. You know how to do that?" Lauren met his gaze, the word trust hanging heavy. "I've learned a thing or two about rebuilding," she said. She got the job, not because of charity, but because Michael saw her strength. Her ability to turn chaos into clarity. Crescent Media was a fresh start. A place where Lauren's talent for crafting stories shone. She threw herself into campaigns, late-night strategy sessions, and client pitches. The work was demanding but exhilarating. A reminder of who she'd been before Ethan's shadow dimmed her light. Her colleagues noticed her drive, her knack for turning skepticism into belief. But it was Michael who saw her beyond the office. He never pried, never pushed, but over coffee breaks and shared rides home, Lauren found herself opening up. Not about the pain, not at first, but about the small things. Her love for jazz. Her habit of collecting vintage postcards. Her dream of seeing the northern lights. Michael listened, really listened, his hazel eyes steady, his laugh warm. He was a widower, raising his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, alone. His own scars were quiet but present, etched in the way he spoke of his late wife with both love and loss. Lily was a burst of sunlight, all curls and questions. The first time Lauren met her, at a company picnic by the lake, Lily tugged her hand and asked, "Do you like butterflies? Dad says they're magic." Lauren laughed, kneeling to meet her gaze. "I think your dad's right." That day, Lily gave her a crayon drawing of a butterfly. Lopsided but vibrant, Lauren taped it to her fridge, a small anchor in her new life. Weeks turned into months, and Lauren's life began to take shape. Dinners at Michael's cozy brownstone became a ritual, spaghetti nights filled with Lily's chatter and Michael's off-key humming. Lauren found herself helping with homework, braiding Lily's hair, and laughing over silly movies. It wasn't forced, it was natural. Like breathing, Michael never made grand gestures. Instead, it was the small things. A coffee waiting on her desk, a shared glance during a quiet moment, the way he'd check if she was okay after a long day. He was steady, unshakable, and for the first time, Lauren felt safe to be herself, flaws, fears, and all. But Ethan wasn't done with her. The emails started innocently enough. "We need to talk." Then they grew sharper. "You took everything from me." Lauren ignored them, deleting each one like she was erasing pieces of her past. Then, one crisp autumn afternoon, she saw him outside her office, leaning against a street lamp. Ethan, 34, still carried that polished charm. But his eyes were cold. Desperate. "Working for Bennett now?" he sneered, stepping into her path. "That's low, even for you." Lauren's pulse quickened, but she stood tall. "I don't owe you an explanation. Ethan, move on. You turned my own mother against me." He spat, his voice low. "You stole that apartment." "No," she said, her voice like steel. "You lost everything. I just stopped cleaning up your messes." He grabbed her arm, his grip tight. Before she could react, a voice cut through the air. "Let her go, Ethan." Michael stepped forward, his presence calm but commanding. Ethan hesitated, then released her, stepping back like a cornered dog. "You think you've won," he hissed. "She's broken. She'll never be enough." Michael didn't flinch. He took Lauren's hand, and they walked away, leaving Ethan's words to dissolve in the wind. That night, Lily curled up next to Lauren on the couch, offering her a cookie. "You seem quiet," she said, her small voice full of concern. "Want some of my chocolate chip?" Lauren smiled, kissing her forehead. "Yeah, kiddo, I do." A letter arrived from Susan, Ethan's mother. A few weeks later, the handwriting was shaky but deliberate, each word heavy with truth. "Thank you, Lauren, for showing me who my son really is. You were never the problem. You were the mirror. I'm sorry it took me so long to see." Lauren read it alone in her apartment, tears falling not from pain but from release. Susan was recovering in Lakewood, her strength returning, but her words carried a finality. She'd chosen Lauren over her own son. Spring bloomed, painting Chicago in soft greens and pinks. Lily brought Lauren wildflowers from the park, tying them into messy bouquets that littered her desk. Michael cooked dinner, burnt chicken one night, perfect lasagna the next, while Lauren helped Lily with science projects. Marveling at her curiosity, their life together wasn't perfect, but it was real. One evening, on Michael's balcony overlooking the lake, the city lights twinkling like stars, he pulled out a small box. "It's not an engagement ring," he said, almost shyly. "It's a promise. If you want a new beginning, I'm here." Inside was a silver ring with a tiny sapphire. Simple and honest. Lauren didn't cry, she smiled. The kind that felt like sunlight after a long winter. "I'm ready," she said. "Let's build something new." Lauren, once defined by sacrifice, was no longer that woman. She was 32, whole, and unafraid. The sapphire ring on her right hand wasn't a claim but a reminder. Love shouldn't cut like glass. With Michael and Lily, she'd found a home, not in a place, but in people. As she stood by the window one morning, watching them laugh in the backyard, coffee warming her hands, she realized she wasn't healing anymore. She was complete.